is piloting the UAPs or UFOs constantly seen in our skies? Where are they from? Why are they here? How long have they been here? What is their mission on planet Earth? Do they come in peace, or do they have more sinister motives? Join Mad Mark as he uncovers the answers to these questions and many more of the mysteries that puzzle us all on Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. And now, here's Mad Mark.
Today's episode, Earth's Greatest Epic continues as Enki relates the stories of the many preparations that needed to be made prior to the gold mining operations beginning on planet Earth. Hello everyone, and welcome to Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. I, of course, am Mad Mark, and before I begin, just a quick reminder to please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. Today we continue our studies of Zecharia Sitchin's 9th book, The Lost Book of Enki, published by Simon & Schuster in 2001. When we concluded episode 29, Enlil had requested that Anu come down to Earth to divide up the various tasks and responsibilities amongst the Anunnaki. This, of course, was due to the fact that mining the gold from the land was going to be a much bigger job than they had originally anticipated, which would require much more equipment and manpower. We now turn things over once again to Enki. Anu's ship splashed down in the marshlands just outside of Eridu. I had prepared sailing ships to retrieve he and his party and bring them into the city. Anu arrived to a royal welcome, as would be expected. He greeted Enlil and I warmly, and even extended his hand to his rival, Alelu. The next day was a day of celebration, and the following day we got down to the business of addressing the issues that were the reason of Anu's visit. The king requested an aerial tour of Earth, which we concluded by visiting the area in South Africa where the gold mining operations would take place. Upon examining the region, Anu spoke. "Obtaining this gold is absolutely necessary," he stated, "but the task of extracting it from the earth will be extremely difficult. However, no matter how deep the gold is, we must obtain it and refine it. A spaceport will need to be built to handle the many ships bringing supplies to Earth and the gold to Nibiru, and it also would be a good idea if we built a way station on a nearby planet or moon." We then returned to Eridu to address these issues in greater detail. I was the first to speak. "I have established Eridu, the first city on Earth, but other cities and settlements will be needed. I have an area in mind to next begin construction. Let its name be the Eden, or the abode of the upright ones. While I am busy with that, let Enlil set up the mining operations in South Africa." But my words angered my brother. "That won't work at all," he shouted. "I am much better at commanding operations and assigning tasks. I also have far greater knowledge when it comes to designing proper spaceport facilities. You know the Earth and its secrets, my brother. You should handle the mining operations in the Abzu." Anu could see that trouble was again brewing between my brother and I. "One of you needs to take command of the Earth operations, and the other needs to oversee the mining operations in Africa," Anu declared. "And what of the issue of royal succession back on Nibiru? One of you needs to return with me to be heir to the throne. I suggest that we draw lots and let fate determine the outcome." Enlil and I were shocked at the king's suggestion of leaving everything up to chance. but we also knew that the two of us would never agree on anything. So the three of us, King Anu and his two sons, clasped hands and agreed to draw lots. By this method, it was determined that Anu would return to Nibiru with succession undetermined. Enlil would take command of the Operation Earth and of all of the lands of the Northern Hemisphere. I would rule over the oceans and seas and all of the lands in the Southern Hemisphere, including the mining operations in South Africa. But I was distraught over the thought of leaving the beautiful city that I had created, Eridu, the first city on Earth. Tears began to swell in my eyes. One final addendum to all of this I shall decree, Anu declared. Let Enki forever retain Eridu as his home here on Earth, to come and go to it and from it as he desires. And let it always be a reminder of his achievements here on Earth, of him being the first to splash down on this planet, and of this being the first city he established here. Let Earth's master forever be his title. Enlil bowed to his father's words. Enki, Earth's master, your title will henceforth be. And he said to me, and I shall be known as Lord of the Command. Now farewell, I can bid you, Anu stated. To Nibiru with a quiet heart I can return. Just as we were about to depart the assembly, Alelu stormed toward us. A grave matter has been forgotten, he screamed. The mastery of Earth was guaranteed to me when I discovered gold here. I was promised it, and I have also not rescinded my claim to Nibiru's throne. Anu remaining on the throne and his son sharing the rule of Earth, this is an abomination. At first, King Anu was speechless, but then, with anger in his voice, he stated, by a second wrestling, let our dispute be settled. Let us do it right here, right now. Okay, this is Mad Mark again. We're leaving Enki for a moment. I have to stop the story here for a second to interject something. An event is about to take place that I'm not sure if I can talk about or not. These days, we creators have to be so careful with our content, and I don't want to get into any trouble or have this episode get taken down or flagged, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you, and just in editing, I will bleep out the words in question. Hopefully, you are all good lip readers and will still be able to understand what is going on. But suffice it to say that from this day forward, King Anu's voice became about 10 octaves higher. Okay, back to the story, and once again we turn the mic over to Enki. The two of them disrobed, and then in their nakedness began to grapple. A mighty struggle it was, but finally Alelu bent his knee and fell to the ground. Anu stood proudly with his foot on Alelu's chest and declared victory. I am the king of Nibiru, he announced, to which Alelu shall not be allowed to return. He removed his foot from Alelu's chest, and then in one swift motion, Alelu grabbed the king's legs and pulled him down, and with the speed of a lightning bolt, Alelu, with his mouth wide open, stretched out his neck. My father let out a thunderous cry to the heavens before falling to the ground. I rushed to Anu's aid while Enlil subdued the hysterical Alelu, who was laughing like a madman. 3 days passed before King Anu was once again able to slowly move about and walk. I wish to return to Nibiru, he demanded, but before I depart, Alelu must be tried for his crime. By the laws of Nibiru, 7 judges were appointed. A trial was then held in the square within the city of Eridu. After everyone was seated, the prisoner Alelu was brought before the 7 who judge. Enlil was the first to speak. In fairness, a wrestling match was held, he stated. Alelu lost, and thus the kingship was granted to Anu. What say you, Alelu? I continued. In fairness, a wrestling match was held, Alelu responded. I lost, and thus the kingship was granted to Anu. Having been defeated, you then committed the abominable act of Enlil carried on. Death is the punishment for such a despicable act. What say you, Alelu? I asked. The accused stood motionless and silent. After a moment, Al-Algar spoke. We all witnessed the crime, he shouted. Punishment must be in accordance with the law. If you wish to speak, Enlil faced Alelu, do so now, before the 7 who judge pass sentence. Again, the former king remained silent, but after a moment, he gathered his thoughts and began to speak. On Nibiru, I was king. Alelu's voice was barely above a whisper. By the right of succession did I reign. For 9 shars I ruled, and Anu was my cupbearer, until the time when he stirred up tensions and challenged me to wrestle for the throne. I was defeated, and Anu became the king. Fearing for my life, I escaped the planet and made the treacherous journey here to Earth, because I had a hunch that the gold needed to save Nibiru might be found here. And I was successful. The gold I did find. And upon contacting Nibiru to tell them of my discovery, I was promised that my kingship would be reinstated. Then Enki came to Earth, and Anu declared him Lord of the Earth. Then Enlil came to Earth, and was granted command over Earth. And all this time I was ignored, and the anger built up inside me. So I challenged Anu, and once again did we wrestle. And again I was defeated. And when Anu placed his foot on my chest in victory, I could stand it no more. Anu then rose to his feet and spoke. By royal seed and law, by fair wrestling did I gain the throne, he bellowed. And as a result, my line of offspring has been discontinued. The accused has admitted to the crime, Enlil demanded. Let the judgment come. Let death be his punishment. With that, the others in the room began chanting, Death, death, death. Then, his heart filled with both anger and pity, Anu stood again. Let Alelu be sentenced to die in exile, he demanded, but neither on earth nor on Nibiru shall his exile be. Lamu, or Mars as you call it, has water and an atmosphere. Let him serve out his punishment there. I then stood to speak. I believe that Lamu would be the perfect place for us to build our way station between Earth and Nibiru. Its gravity is far less than that of Earth, which would be advantageous for both landing and launching ships. In my celestial chariot, I shall take Alelu to Lamu. I can put my ship into orbit and utilize a shuttlecraft to send Alelu down to the planet. Alone on a strange planet he will be, his days until his final day by himself to count. Thus judgment was rendered, and unanimously agreed upon by the 7 who judge. The following day the celestial chariots were made ready for launch, mine heading for Lamu Mars with the prisoner Alelu, and Anu's taking him back to Nibiru. The king was visibly limping when he approached Enlil to say goodbye. Let constructing a suitable spaceport here on Earth be your top priority, he stated. Then begin making plans for the way station on Lamu. There was both joy and sorrow in the air as our ships prepared for launch. And then, before we knew it, we were soaring through the heavens. Toward the red-hued Lamu Mars did both ships journey. We orbited the planet twice while we prepared the shuttlecraft for its descent to the surface. It was then that Anu's pilot Anzu made an unexpected announcement. Along with Alelu, down to the planet's surface I shall descend, he declared, and I will not be coming back to the ship. With Alelu on Lamu I shall remain, and I shall protect him until his dying day. And when that day finally arrives, I shall see to it that he receives a burial fit for a king. And I shall be remembered as the sole companion of the exiled king. Tears welled up in the eyes of Alelu, and amazement filled the heart of Anu. Your wish shall be honored, Anu spoke as he gently laid his hand on Anzu's shoulder, and I hereby make you this promise. When in time the way station here is completed, you shall be declared its commander. The Master of Lamu shall be your title. Anzu bowed his head to the king. So be it, he uttered. Alelu and Anzu were ushered into the shuttlecraft and were provided with flight suits, food, and tools. And then the craft descended down to the Red Planet. Hey gang, Mad Mark here, and by popular demand, I now have merch available. I've found the perfect company to work with, and they do an outstanding job. There are t-shirts and hoodies available right now, and who knows what I will come up with in the future. There are 2 different designs to choose from at the moment. You have this one and this one. And these t-shirts and hoodies come in a variety of colors and sizes, so no matter what you're looking for, there's something for everybody. If you're watching this show right now on YouTube, you can find this merch by clicking the shop link below in the show description, or just pay a visit to www.madmarktv.com. That's the all-new Who Are the Aliens t-shirts and hoodies. Get yours today. For 9 shars did Alelu rule as king on Nibiru. For 8 shars did he serve as the commander of Eridu on Earth. And in the 9th shar, he died in exile on Lamu. That was his fate. Upon his return to Nibiru, King Anu addressed the assembly and outlined his plans for the future. Way stations throughout the solar system would need to be constructed on various planets. Lamu/Mars would be the first. Earth's moon would also be considered for this purpose. Next, a new fleet of celestial chariots would need to be built to provide constant shipments to and from Earth. All of Nibiru's scientists, counselors, savants, and princes agreed with this plan. And this information was quickly beamed to Enlil and Enki with instructions to begin the construction of Earth's spaceport immediately. Gold mining in the Abzu should commence as soon as possible. I appointed Al-Algar to be the temporary overseer of Eridu in my absence and immediately set off for South Africa to get the mining operations underway. Once upon my arrival, I set about the various tasks of deciding how many workers and what equipment would be needed. I even designed a rather ingenious earth splitter and radioed the blueprints back to Nibiru for its construction. Facilities for the various needs of the workers being sent here to mine the gold would also be needed to be built. Facilities for the various needs of the workers being sent here to mine the gold would also need to be built. especially medical centers. One thing that we knew firsthand was that Earth's short cycles of day and night were a hard thing for us from Nibiru to adjust to. Heavy bouts of dizziness were often experienced. Meanwhile, back in Mesopotamia, Enlil was surveying the land known as Eden. Of mountains and rivers he took account. The valleys and plains he measured in his search for the perfect location for the spaceport. It was during this time that Enlil began to be affected by the heat of Earth's sun. He was constantly searching out cool places with shade where he could rest. He would also need to find a place to build his own home, and he soon spied the location that was perfect near the snow-covered mountains along the Eden's north side. The tallest trees he had ever seen grew in a cedar forest there. He instructed his crew to quarry stones from the nearby mountainside and cut them to size. These would be used both to build his home and for construction of the spaceport. The spaceport was built first, and it turned out better than even he had expected. Indeed, an everlasting structure it was. He then built his home from the leftover blocks of stone and beams cut from the massive cedar forest. The abode of the North Crest, he named it. Back on Nibiru, the construction of the new rocket ships and spaceships was already underway, and as soon as one was completed, it was immediately loaded up with supplies and the machines that I had designed. A fresh group of 50 recruits were chosen for this latest trip to Earth, males and females among them. The females were trained in nursing and healing by my half-sister Ninhursag, who would be joining this expedition to Earth as well. The first ship was soon launched from Nibiru, and it swiftly made its way to Lamu, Mars. But upon its arrival, they saw no signs of Anzu nor Alelu there. They were able to track Anzu's location by the signal being sent through his helmet. But upon finding him, they were saddened to discover that he lay dead. Ninhursag immediately set to work. With her pulsar and her emitter with its life-giving crystals, she fought to revive Anzu. It took some time, but eventually Anzu opened his eyes and pointed to his throat. He was suffering from great thirst and hunger. Once he had eaten and drank, the group asked him what had become of Alelu, and they learned that he had become violently ill and died shortly after the ships had departed. Anzu led them to a great rock protruding upward from the plain. Within the great rock was a cave where Anzu had laid Alelu's body. The entrance to the cave he had covered with rocks. For the first time in the history of Nibiru, a former king had been laid to rest on an alien planet. Let him in peace for eternity rest, declared Ninhursag. The group paid their last respects to Alelu and then made their way back to the ship. King Anu will be keeping his promise to you, Anzu, Ninhursag informed him. 20 workers shall be left here on Lamu, Mars, with you to begin construction of the way station. Once it is completed, rocket ships from Earth will be bringing shipments of gold here to be stored, and then celestial chariots will pick up the gold for transport back to Nibiru. Eventually, there will be hundreds of workers stationed here, and you shall command all of it. My life I owe to you, great lady, Anzu responded, and my gratitude to King Anu knows no limits. Then the group left Lamu, Mars, and their celestial chariot continued on towards the Earth. Upon their arrival, the group was astonished to see that, although not yet completed, enough of the spaceport had been constructed to allow them to land there. Splashdowns in the ocean were no longer needed. The ship was quickly unloaded. All of the tools and machines that I had designed for extracting the gold were present, along with provisions of all kinds. Ninhursag was greeted by Enlil as she left the ship. She informed him of what had transpired on Lamu Mars, and then showed a bag of seeds that she was carrying. I have brought relief for the workers suffering from the dizziness caused by the short days here on Earth, she explained. Once planted, these seeds shall produce a tasty fruit from which an elixir will be made. It will chase away the ailment and keep them in a good mood. These seeds need to be planted in a cool place, but a place from which they will also receive plenty of sun and water. I know of just such a place, Enlil stated. Right near the abode that I have built for myself would be perfect, and I can care for them there as well. Let me show you. The pair boarded Enlil's sky ship and made their way to his home. Once inside, they embraced each other passionately. They kissed with the fervor of lovers. "Oh, my sister, my beloved," Enlil gasped. "I bring word of our son Ninurta," Ninhursag struggled for breath. "A young prince he has become, and he is ready for adventure. He wants to join us here on Earth. As long as we both are here now, I see no reason that he should not be here with us. I will send for him," Enlil stated. With joy-filled hearts, the pair finished their tour of Enlil's home and then returned to his sky ship. And from the air, Enlil relayed his aspirations to his sister. "An everlasting plan have I designed," he shouted. "The construction methods that I am utilizing shall make these buildings last for all time. Away from Eridu, where dry land begins, my headquarters of command shall be. I shall name it Larsa, the Mission Control Center. It will be located on the banks of the deep Baranu River. And in the future a twin city shall be erected, and I shall name it Lagash. Between the two cities, on the plans, a line I have drawn. 60 leagues thereafter, a healing city shall be built. This shall be your city. A great medical facility shall it contain, and I shall name it Shirapak. On the center line it shall be located. To the 4th city it shall lead. Nibru Key, Earth's crossing place, I will name it. A bond between the heavens and the earth it will become. The tablets of destinies shall be housed there, and all missions it will control. Including Eridu, 5 cities shall there be, and they will exist for all of eternity." They both stared intently at the crystal tablets that contained Enlil's master plans. "My brother, magnificent is your plan for the 5 cities, Ninhursag exclaimed with excitement in her voice. "The creation of Shirapak, with its grand medical center as the place designated as my abode, is something that I am very grateful for. But beyond this plan, please be careful not to transgress your father or offend your brother." "You are wise as well as beautiful," Enlil responded. Meanwhile, in the Abzu, I was busy making my own plans, where to build my home away from Eridu here in the Abzu, where to build living quarters for the many workers, some of whom were already here on Earth and would soon arrive here in South Africa. I began by surveying the land from the air. A beautiful and bountiful land it was, with many mighty rivers. I decided to build my abode near one of these flowing waterways. I located another perfect place near the mining area to construct the workers' lodging. And then I began unloading all of the equipment for the work to begin. 2 shars passed before all the construction on Earth and Lamu Mars was completed. But finally, the day we had all been preparing for arrived. we were ready to begin mining gold from the bowels of earth and sending it to Nibiru. On the seventh day, a day of rest, King Anu beamed a message to all of us on both Earth and Lamu Mars. In every place where Anunnaki were assembled, the message was heard. In the Eden, where Enlil was in command, along with Ninhursag, they stood. In Eridu, Al-Algar was watching. Abgal, the landing place commander, was by his side. Here in the Abzu, the workers gathered with me to watch, along with my chief minister Isimud and Ningal, my pilot. On Lamu, all of the workers gathered around Anzu to watch. Altogether, 600 on Earth and 300 on Lamu gathered to watch. And then the king delivered his message. Heroes of Nibiru, you are the saviors. The fate of all is in your hands. Your success shall for eternity be recorded. By glorious names you all shall be called. Those of you on earth will henceforth be known as the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came. Those of you on Lamu Mars will henceforth be known as Ijiji, as those who observe and see they shall be known. All that is required is ready. Let the gold start coming. Let Nibiru be saved. And that is where I will leave you for this episode. I hope you can agree that although I have covered this information before on past episodes, these in-depth details being provided by Enki are certainly more intense and a lot more informative. And you have quite a lot to digest there. And we have so much more to cover and learn. I, again, am Mad Mark, and I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If so, please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. And please tell your friends and help spread the word about this show. If you have any questions regarding any of the content discussed on this program, just message me through madmarktv.com or on any of my social media platforms. I also have a special heads up for those of you who have Facebook accounts. I now offer a subscribers-only page on Facebook where, for just 99 cents a month, you can watch each episode of my show right there on Facebook. It's a handy alternative to having to hassle with YouTube or Spotify to watch the show. And all of my past episodes are there as well, so it's pretty convenient for just 99 cents a month. If you're interested, there's a link down in the show notes. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone that listening to this program is no excuse to not read the book that we have been discussing here, The Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin. It is an amazing work, and I am leaving out much information in order to keep the show flowing properly, so please do yourselves a favor and read that book. Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth is written and produced by me, Mad Mark. Today we have taken another step in our ongoing journey to discover the truth. I promise you that things will get more and more interesting the further we delve into this topic of who are the aliens, the history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. Peace to all of you, and remember to always walk in love. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth with your host, Mad Mark. Join us again on our next program when Mad Mark will once again uncover the answers to the mysteries that puzzle mankind.